Hi everybody, Rob Tavi here, Managing Director of IBS Electronics. I'm here today in Shenzhen, China at White Horse Laboratories with founder Mark Reinhardt.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, good to see you. Mark has been so gracious to extend his invitation for us to come see his facilities. White Horse Laboratories has been a partner with IBS Electronics for many years now on all our supply chain needs for testing, component level testing, failure analysis testing, packaging, anything that goes into any type of component level certification and processes. So Mark, why don't you tell us a little about White Horse and exactly what you do here?
I started White Horse in 2004. We started it when the industry was really beginning to understand how big the counterfeit problem was. When I started White Horse in 2004, no one was even inspecting anything. They were just buying from online platforms and reselling, finding out that they had huge RMA rates. So we started getting involved as the test company in China, the first company in China that do what we do, to identify the substandard and counterfeit product that was coming directly from the suppliers. We would receive directly from the supplier before it went to the buyer. And we were finding up to 80% reject rates for product that was remarked, refurbished, outright counterfeit that no one was even checking before. So that was what the state of the industry in 2004. I had started the company in 2004 after I had come to China first in 2001. My personal background was with an EMS and an OCM. Okay. And I started White Horse in 2004 after understanding at the OEM level what was happening with our factory reject and the steps that we had to take to keep it out of the counterfeit market. Right, yeah. And there was a real niche for what we were doing and a need for what we were doing. So I rolled up the sleeves and dove into it.
So, I mean, I think what a lot of people wanted to know is, how did you end up in Shenzhen, China? I think you started first in Hong Kong and you ended up in China. How did this happen?
The company I was with for several years before in the U.S. had several divisions with the same company. I was with their EMS division in the United States, and then was moved to China, Hong Kong and China in 2001. To run operations and distribution. So I was based in Hong Kong initially, but the work was really at the factory. Okay. So I moved very quickly from a Hong Kong base into a China base because the operations, the manufacturing was done here, and that's where the attention was needed. So that's why I got here in the first place. But I love it. I've been here for 18 years now. I love the country, and it's good. I mean, the right place to be.
The beautiful facilities built, which we're going to take a tour with shortly. But how do you? I mean, a couple of questions is, how did you? As I said, doing the human resources and culture, adapting to it. How did that take place? How did that all work? Take us through a little bit of the quick.
I think that's actually harder than the engineering. It really is harder than the engineering. My background actually in the OEM and EMS was actually initially in human resources, which was mostly in team building. That was what I loved about it, was the team building side of it. That's what I love throughout the whole operation is finding people with talent, but more importantly, finding people with character and putting them together to work on their strengths and weaknesses to achieve things that they couldn't do on their own. Culturally, team building is still pretty much the same. People have strengths and weaknesses, and they work usually better as teams together. The language part is very difficult. I still struggle with it.
So do you speak Mandarin now? Or?
Oh, I could get around. I do a lot better now that my wife has me talking to her parents. So I am getting better at it, but I can navigate. But somewhere between my bad Chinese and some charades and a whiteboard, we really can get done what we need to get done.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, myself, I've been coming to China for almost 20 years now, and still I get around with xie xie ni hao. So, thankfully I have a great staff behind me that helps and translates a lot of stuff for me. But as I know, living here, it's that standard to low, because I know 20 years ago, 15 years ago, still to get around is very difficult. Just not speaking.
I wouldn't call it articulate, but it's functional.
Well, very good. So how about you take us to start with a tour, take us around the facility and show us how everything works, the process that comes into play.
All right, sounds good.